What's up traders? In this video, I will be performing a market forecast here on EUR/USD using smart money concepts. So stay tuned. This video is going to serve as my outlook for EUR/USD for the month of February 2024. This is going to be our first market forecast video for the year, and since our last one was at the start of December, we do have quite a lot of price action that has printed since that last video. As always, we're going to be focusing on the weekly, daily, and 4-hour time frames so that you guys have more of a longer term reference point for this particular pair going into the month of Feb. We will also be taking a look at the DXY in order to see if there are any potential confluences that can be drawn in terms of the analysis that we perform here. Now we're going to kick things off on the weekly time frame, and to be fair, not a lot has changed in terms of this time frame. We are still trading within this bearish range. We did have our internal structure shifting bearish at this point in here. After that internal break to the downside, we had an internal pullback which came in to mitigate weekly supply. That weekly supply held really well, so we could now be witnessing the early phases of that weekly bearish continuation. The overall objective for this particular time frame is a violation of the weekly week low all the way down here. The immediate next target for price action would be this internal week low down here. And then after that, we would be looking for price action to gravitate potentially towards this weekly demand, with this POI offering a potential short-term bullish reaction before we possibly see that bearishness continue. We know as well that until the weekly week low is violated, there remains a possibility that our internal structure shifts bullish again, potentially to facilitate a mitigation of extreme supply in here. But for now, our anticipation is bearishness, initially down to this internal week low, and then after that down towards this weekly demand. If we now drop down to our daily time frame, we can see that internal structure on the weekly time frame appearing as swing structure here on the daily time frame. Our last break of structure was in here. We have this bearish range that has been established. Price action obviously gave us that daily pullback into weekly supply, which sits at the extreme of the range, and then we had that nice bearish reaction off of that area. Now the current objective of this particular range is a violation of the daily week low. However, our internal structure at this point in time is still pointing bullish. Our last internal break of structure was a bullish one in here as price action traded up towards that weekly supply, and we haven't yet seen that internal structure shift bullish because this is the internal range that we're playing within, and price is essentially now trading at the extreme of that internal range. Now we will be looking at the 4-hour in a minute, so I don't want to get too caught up on talking about the internal structure, but from a daily point of view now, what we can potentially anticipate going into the start of Feb, going into the remainder of Feb, is this daily demand zone is now a very interesting area for us because of the fact that it sits so close to our internal strong low. We can essentially say that our internal strong low is offering liquidity for this daily demand. Now, because we are bearish and because we can only confirm the start of our bearish continuation after this low is violated, we could potentially see price action initially just sweeping that internal low and tapping into this daily demand zone before giving a bullish reaction. Now, how long and how strong that bullish reaction will be remains to be seen. One of two things can happen. Either we just see a very short-term bullish reaction before price action continues down lower, and if that happens, we would then essentially get confirmation that our internal has now shifted, and the next sell target would then be this daily demand before then ultimately price looks towards this week low. The second option that could happen if price action comes in to interact with this area is we could potentially see a move towards one of two areas. The first is this daily supply here, which sits at the internal week high. And then the other is a daily supply that sits just below in here. And the reason I point this out is because this particular supply has not been tapped into yet. Price action stopped just short of tapping into this area, which means that it is essentially a fresh, unmitigated zone. However, one thing to take note of is that this POI does sit at this liquidity pool. So if we do see a strong, prolonged bullish reaction off of this POI, I would say that our initial target, our initial area of interest would be this daily supply in here. And then after that, we would have this daily supply here. And if we now look at the DXY very quickly on the daily time frame, you can see that we have this bullish range that price is trading within. We have already seen a pullback into discount, and after price action mitigated this weekly demand, our internal shifted bullish to signal the start of our daily bullish continuation phase. So from where we are now on the DXY on the daily time frame, our next buy target would be this daily supply in here. The presence of imbalance and liquidity leads me to believe that we can anticipate a reaction from this area. However, this daily demand down here is an area that I find quite interesting because of the fact that we have a nice pool of liquidity and we have really nice imbalance left over that price action hasn't filled just yet. So as much as we are now trading this continuation phase and this is our next buy target, there is the potential that price action reverses temporarily in order to mitigate this area before pushing off. And if we do see price action reversing down towards this area, then that would support the idea of potentially seeing a temporary bullish push to the upside here on EUR/USD, either towards this area or this area before that bearishness continues, right? Because ultimately, the fact that our DXY is pointing bullish and aiming for this week high supports the idea that our EUR/USD daily time frame is pointing bearish and is aiming for this daily week low. So this is why I believe that the potential for a pullback towards this daily demand down here suggests that we could see a potentially stronger reaction off of this area before that bearishness continues. And again, it remains to be seen how price action comes in and interacts with this level. And then finally, to end things off, if we look at our 4-hour time frame here on EUR/USD, we do have that bullish range that price is currently trading within. And then here we have our 4-hour strong low that sits very close to that daily demand zone that we just pointed out, potentially providing liquidity for a mitigation of this area. As price action has been interacting with this 4-hour demand, we did have our internal structure seemingly switch bullish temporarily on Friday before a very large and very sharp bearish drop. If I show you what this looks like on the 15-minute time frame quickly, this was our NFP news release on Friday. Prior to that NFP news release, we had our US ISM manufacturing PMI in here that gave us this big push that ultimately produced this bullish breakout structure. And before that, we had our Fed interest rate decision for the US in here that pushed price action all the way down that generated this bearish breakout structure. So this past week, at the time of recording this video on EUR/USD, we had very large price swings here on the 15-minute time frame, but ultimately price action was respecting this 4-hour demand in here, which is well priced within the 4-hour range. That next area of interest for us in terms of where price is likely to go next is obviously now going to be our 4-hour strong low and then this daily demand in here. So very interesting price action that we're seeing here on EUR/USD. It's definitely going to be offering up some nice opportunities for the month of February. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure that you give it a like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future content. And as always, I appreciate you guys so much for watching.